Hey, if you're enjoying Hooks and Ladders, and why wouldn't you be enjoying Hooks and Ladders? Be sure to like and subscribe, follow us on social media, and hey, head on over to songstudio.ca to check out what we're up to. If you sign up for our mailing list, you'll be the first to know everything that's coming up and everything special that we got going on at Song Studio. You won't regret it.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of Hooks and Ladders, where we talk about songwriting. My name is Blair Packham.
My name is Allister Bradley, and we are joined today by our good friend Suzie Vinnick. Hey, Suzie.
Hello, you guys.
Welcome
Hi.
to Hooks and Ladders.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime. We wanted to talk to you today because we know you have great ideas on this. Where do the song ideas come from? And I guess, following that, what do we do with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I might be watching a TV show or and somebody might say something and I'll pause it and save it and go, oh, I like that idea. And then I have a file that I email them to myself, and it's called Songwriting Snippets, good old Gmail. And it's great because no matter where I am, if I'm writing with somebody, as long as there's internet access, then I don't have to worry about, I left that, I swore. Big bad swear. I left that notebook at home or something like that I know as long as there's internet, I can access my emails and I can go there and kind of look through. And I find it's really handy if I'm collaborating with somebody that's new, and I mostly co-write. I just find that's how I get my songs done. But I'll look through the snippets, right, and just think of the person, if it's the day before or something that I'm going to be writing with, and I can go through them and read them through and just see kind of what resonates in my belly when I think of the person, and so I can come forth to the table and have a few ideas at least, and say, so these ideas made me think of you. And so that's like, it's sort of simple, but it's practical and handy. And I've done it for years. I've just found it's really nice to have that place to go to. And then other ideas like, what do you guys do? Where do you put yours?
I'm curious though. You mentioned television, which I agree is actually a great source because there's lots of ideas happening. That's why we watch TV, is because even if it's a stupid sitcom, it's based on ideas, right? And people are acting them out. So there's lots of ideas just floating around in that medium. But are there other mediums like, I don't know, magazines or books or conversation?
Yeah, I just mentioned, I was just thinking of a TV show, and I remember just loving this line and pausing it and rewinding it back and right. Actually recording it on my phone and saving it. But of course, I'll read articles. A lot. Most of my reading, I do online. I know maybe that's the same for a lot of people. We'll read stories. And even following the news, there might be things I read about, even and Twitter, there's just sort of little ideas and things that pop up that people say, and I'll just send, I like the idea, and I'll put the idea down if it's just a title or something like that, and then I'll put the reference down, and if it's possible to put a link to it just to help jog my memory and why that resonated with me. And then I can go back. And then it also allows me maybe even to explore a little bit too, and to see if I can find other content that might weave its way in. So I wrote this song recently with my friend Karen Moran, and there's a lot of, I'm just finding a lot of division these days. And that it's troubling me. I probably watch too much news and stuff. And I just thought I guess it's almost like a Buddhist sort of philosophy, just about lifting each other up, and that's going to just put better energy into the world. So I had written down a title, I think, Lift You Up, but in it I put a couple of stories that I referenced that I'd read. I think one was on Twitter about this woman had gone to the grocery store and bought 20 pumpkins, and this older gentleman was behind her, and he was like, what are you doing with all those pumpkins? And she says, well, I'm a teacher, and I'm taking them into the classroom for the students to carve. And he's like, my wife was a teacher for 30 years. I want to pay for those pumpkins. And he gave her like an extra $20 that she could go. And she's like, oh, thanks. This will buy lots of supplies. He's like, no, use that 20 for yourself. And anyway, so it's just this thing, this complete stranger goes and does this. And there's other stories. You read the stories about people in Timmy's line that the person ahead buys your coffee and paying it forward, I guess. And we're just doing stuff and not needing to have a pat on the back about it. So I kind of collected a few of these ideas in that same file. I just sent an email to that email, and they're all there as in references. And so I, I don't have a whole song, but I've certainly got some nice fodder to kind of work from and build. And so I find that's been a really handy tool, utilizing the latest technology. I mean, and some folks I think do have songwriting notebooks that they go to. I find I'm pretty scattered. So having a one place to go to has been better for me than having 4 notebooks over there with a handful of ideas and 5 over there and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, that's my life. I have notebooks all over the house, and but I have a couple of go-to places that are the central places. But if I'm caught without those things in my hands at that moment, I will write it down on whatever is available, and then there's scraps of paper as well, and But I think that the common thread in what you were describing about those ideas floating around are. Because I think a natural question that a newer songwriter might ask is, yeah, but how do you decide? Like, you can't just write everything down that you hear on a TV show or you see in a news item. Like, how do you, what makes an idea that you might want to put in a song? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's an idea that moves you.
Exactly, yeah.
It triggers your brain, but it also makes you feel something, because then you think, well, in a song, I might be able to move other people this way. Is that fair to say?
Totally, yeah. I think it's an emotional response to something, and I think generally for me, if I'm not feeling an emotional response, I'm not inspired. I don't want to put energy into it and go there. I mean, if there's a really cool line you come up with all of a sudden that it's just sort of candy, but it's really cool, then I might, I would consider that. But that doesn't happen that often. It's more just stories and especially these days, the challenges that we're all facing as artists and with COVID and not being able to work in that, it's a great way to kind of get the sad stuff, the angry stuff, whatever, out of your system. And again, just kind of contributing positivity to the world and hoping that energy kind of builds up and helps everybody. So yeah, so it's definitely, there's an emotional attachment, an emotional response that I tend to feel like in my belly. That's kind of, if I read something and go, I really like that, or it might make me cry, then I know that I definitely need to jot that down. Because that may come through in a song, right? I don't know what it's like for you guys, but.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'll get ideas watching scripted television. I don't watch reality television. No interest. But yeah, scripted television, it resembles the journey of a song in so many ways. There are the moments that are purely exposition. They're just showing us, rolling out the story without any, necessarily any emotional attachment to what's going on. We're just rolling out the story so that when the moment comes that somebody can say, yes, and now I'm going to leave you. Now we have an emotional moment. Just like in our song. So there'll be moments for me as well when I'm watching television and I'll, this is what they should say right now, and they don't say it. And I think, I need to write. So yeah, I'll write down some ideas, and Blair and I have talked about this before. I'll also, as much as possible, I'll write down what led me to that moment, so that if I come back to it next week, I can try and hopefully recapture that moment that I was in. So, like you say, if it's writing down, capturing a link to something, to some content online, or writing down it was episode 4 of this series, I do as much as I can, or else I lose it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just write stuff down in order to write stuff down, just to get my brain going. I'll enter something in I use OnSong as a notepad, as we've talked about, Allister, and it's a way of sort of organizing all my song stuff, even though I'm not organized really ultimately, but it helps. So I'll type it into OnSong, even though it's a phrase that I think that doesn't make me feel anything. and yet it's the act of doing it that then sometimes leads me to typing something else or writing something else that then will lead to a song. So sometimes activity is what you need to do, even if you're not that excited about the idea.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like the morning page idea, right? That you kind of get the dust bunnies and all the junk that's been collecting out of your system, and then you'll get the goods. So yeah, so like the morning pages. There's a great little website called 750words.com that it's akin to taking a notebook and writing 3 pages of the morning pages, but you type them and then they save it on the site, so you can go back and reference them. I think you can do hashtags too if there's something in it that then you can check what you've written down and go back to it. But again, for me, if I came up with something when I was writing, go, oh, that's kind of clever, or oh, that's kind of a cool line, then I probably would still email it to myself, to my snippets file, just again because it's all in one place. And they're like, where did I put that line again? I can't remember. So
right. Yeah. Eventually, for me, they all will end up in my on-song folder. But then what happened, fairly recently, my iPad will break and I will lose all that stuff. So that's what I'm afraid of.
Is on-song like a syncing type of thing, that exists on different devices? So
so I'm actually covered. I'm covered, thankfully. It's actually a subscription service now, but I just find it's helpful to have it in mostly one place, and on-song, it's more of a set list kind of thing, really, than a songwriting thing, but it works for me that way.
Yeah. Allister, where do you stash your ideas? Do you have a special place that you tuck them away, or?
I have, unfortunately, more than one special place, and that's the problem. Because I do think for the creative mind, I think there's just something about pen and paper. There's something about having a book in my hands and a pen and writing that activates those parts of my brain that are more helpful to songwriting. But I don't always have that book with me. So yeah, sometimes even I'm driving and it's easier to activate voice memos and record the voice, but then it's not in as helpful a place as in my notebook. So yeah, later I have to do some consolidation. I do also have an email address that's dedicated for lyrics. So I'll email myself lyric ideas. Yeah.
I do have been using an online automated transcription service lately for some other things. And if it were better, I would recommend it for, those stray sort of audio files that you might have, because it has proven useful, but it's a little ragged. There'll be words that it gets completely wrong, and but that might be helpful too for a song.
It might be helpful, because I thought I could be dictating to Siri or Alexa or whoever, and the words that Siri gets wrong. Hey, maybe they're better than they're better than the ones I came up with.
Exactly.
Take you to a totally different place too.
Yeah. I want to write a song that goes, "Hey Alexa, hey Siri, turn off all the lights," or whatever, so that whoever's listening to the song, all their lights go off. Turn on the TV, set the fire alarm, call 911. Yeah. Oh God. It could be very chaotic. Oh,
it's a hit.
Sorry, my Siri just answered. It said, seriously, it just said, I didn't quite get that. It's okay, Siri. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, you have a British one. I have a gentleman from New York, I think is my guy. I like that. I love that. You could ask Siri where to hide a dead body. And she's like, what? Again? They changed it. I guess they got in trouble because they'd give you a list of places to hide a dead body. Anyway.
That's hilarious. Wow. Well, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Suzie Vinnick. I got to say, you are a bright spark in our lives, and thanks so much. I hope we'll talk again soon, and I wish you all the luck. So,
thank you. Right back at you guys. It's great. Always great to hang out with you. Thanks.
Cheers. Take care, Suzie.